Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the SAP Manufacturing site. This time, as promised, we will take a look at the background job, which is transaction QA51. This is for the source inspections. Basically, we will discuss this, and we will take a look at the QI07 transaction, the one we've been using in the other couple of videos. If you haven't seen them, you should check them out first. And then you can check this one as well. Of course, you can watch this one. Basically, the source inspection can be triggered basically in two ways, right? Using the QI07 and the QA51. Okay, they're not exactly the same, even though, of course, one is online, we call it, right, or foreground, because you see the transaction working, and in the other is in the background. You cannot see that. It will be just trigger at a certain point in time during the day or during once a week or once a month, depending on your definitions, right? But process definition. But basically, they have a slight difference that I would like to point out. Okay, let's take a look. So we'll take a look at the QI07. We already used this transaction before, as I mentioned, right? But I just want to point out a few things here. Um, Plant D01. You can also create a variant here, by the way, okay? So you can just call this variant and use it for specific by plants, for example, if you have more responsibilities, right, in different plants or whatever, right? But basically, you can do also by supplier if you want, or you can just leave this open and just put the plant, okay? But let's focus on uh, these two parameters, okay? Let me explain. The behavior of the program when it's in foreground or online, that's another way of calling it, right? Which is this one, right? The behavior is one thing. And when it's running in the background in the QA51, it will do a different thing, okay? So it's important to understand because this difference might make this transaction still needed, let's say, depending on the business process, okay? Basically, when we do this, I would explain in more details. You can put, of course, suppliers. You can have a list of suppliers here, right? Maybe you want just suppliers that you know you're going to be receiving this as a, let's say, actually, if you are setting up, right, the quality info record, etc., you will know what suppliers will be doing. You will be doing source inspection, right? But basically, you can put a list. You can just leave this open, and the same for the materials, etc., right? But the delivery date will work the following way. Okay. For example, I have created um, four line numbers for the same PO just to save time, right? It's the same PO, but with four different lines. So the delivery date basically will cover a period. In this case, it's suggesting 3 months, right? So basically, it's saying that as long as the delivery date lies inside the period, okay, which is basically this is um, the end of a period, let's say, right? It's 14 of November 2025. So if the delivery date of the order or the PO lies within this period, it means saying in another way, right? It's before this date, right? Whatever, it's 13 of November, it's next month, right? Everything that it's before this date means it's within the range. It will be picked up. Okay, this is what the delivery date is doing. However, the they are not necessarily will be green to be ready or ready to be turned into inspection lot, right? Or create inspection lot for it. So you will see that in a yellow color. Okay, there are Of course, well, there is another color, which is the red one. The red one means there is something wrong. Okay. One thing that can be wrong is, remember that we mentioned that we need to have a badge in the PO, right? We still might create inspection lot without the badge if we click here. So we can create inspection without badges. Okay. It doesn't mean that it's only without badges. If he has a badge, he will create it anyway, right? This is not advisable because we need to put. Otherwise, we need to do it at the inspection lot, and then we need to put it into the microtransaction, right? So it's better to put it into the PO at the time of creation. Okay, so you can be sure, you can do a process or something, right? Just to be sure that the PO for source inspections cases, right, gets this batch created at that time. Okay. Anyway, you can still create if you flag this. Okay. I'm just gonna run it without it because I created the batches for all the POs line numbers. Okay, so no need to put this. I'm just gonna create this one, run this one. I mean, so you can see the behavior. Okay, so you can see that all of them are green. It means we can create the four of them. Okay, I have one case which is in the, let's say, past, let's call it. Okay, that's why it's 40. Okay, it's put in this first because it's the first one that we should be creating, right? Um, the 10 is 21st of August, in a few more days, right? 28, a couple of weeks, and 16 of September, almost 1 month from now. Okay, so today you can consider that it's 16 of August 2025. Okay, 16 of August 2025. Okay, so as you can see, we have everything. Why we have everything to be created? Well, the way this works, first of all, because this is not limiting the delivery date, right? So let me do the first test here. 20, let me put 21st, 08, 2025. Okay, so if we put this one, let me execute it. Now you have only two. Okay, you have the one that is in the past and the one that it's exactly on the 21st. Of course, if I put 20 here, right, I will get only the one in the past, right? Exactly, right? Okay, so basically, you see how this works, right? Delivery date is basically to cover the period of the deliveries that you want to see. It doesn't mean that will necessarily you want to create an inspection log for it, right? For example, let me do the following. Now, let me restrict the opening period instead of 30, which is wide open, I would say. Let me put just a few days, 5, for example. Okay, let me run it. See, we have only 15 now. Let me put another number, 7. Okay, let me put maybe. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I need to remove this 20 here because this is a filter, right? Even though I'm trying to move this to make it narrow, right? This is still too restrictive. Okay, let me put some. I don't remember the one we had, right? It's almost 3 months or something. Maybe it was some November, I think. Yeah, it was November 2025. Yeah. Okay, so let me put back the one I wanted first. 5. Okay, here you go. Okay, since we have this, let's say, delivery date in really in the future because it's in November, we have 4 now, right? Because all of them are before November, right? So we have 4. However, these are in yellow. Okay, these are in yellow. These 2 are valid. Why we have 2 valid now? Okay, because of this, because of these opening period. Okay. What the system is doing is making a calculation of a range based on this opening period. Okay. It will pick up today's date and it will add up these 5 days, calendar days. So the new date will be today plus 5. Okay. So whatever it is. So today is 16. So it's 21st. Okay. So if it's 21st, we will see that, right? Okay. So 21st. Then let me do it in a different way here. 7. Now we have 3. See? Ready to be created. Okay? Because it's on the 28th. The system is doing this calculation. Okay? It's creating the range based on today's plus the opening period we put there, right? And the determination of this traffic light is based on the delivery date minus the lead time. Okay, so the system assumes that we want to create an inspection lot right when the product was ready at the plant and ready to be shipped to our plant. Okay, so for example, if we have a lead time of 5 days, right? Calendar days, sorry, working days, right? The lead times are in working days. Um, so if we have 5 days, right? Let's assume it's from Monday to Friday, just to keep it simple, right? The system will assume we want to create on that Monday the inspection lot, okay? Because we have 5 days to arrive. So when it arrives, you already inspection that, right? You did inspection. However, probably some processes are not working exactly like that, but that's the way it was conceived. Okay. So that's why I was saying that this is important, maybe to use this transaction as well, that will give you visibility. And maybe you want to create inspection lot manually from time to time with a lot of time ahead, right? So you have time to perform the work, to ask for the sample, etc., right? Depending on your process. Okay. Keep in mind that in this one we have more flexibility, right? Because if we this is a forward check, let's say, okay, so the higher the number here, like 30, right, for example, the more inspection lot we are able to create. See? Okay, so you can plan ahead if you want, right? This is my point. When we see, we'll take a look at the QA51. The QA51 works in the other way around, okay? It's not forward, it's backwards. It means that when we put the opening period, we just want to cover everything in the past that should have been converted and it was not. I mean, it's just a precaution, right? So, for example, if we don't put anything in the past and we forgot to let's say, to run daily or we want to run weekly, we need to be sure we're covering the whole week plus a couple of more days just in case. If you have one failure, right, one run that could not be executed for any reason, you might lose all that numbers of inspection log to be created for that couple of days. Okay, that's why you cover in the past. Okay, but that will be for the QA51. Okay, so it's important for you. Again, we are in the QI07. Keep in mind that this will give you more flexibility in terms of changing the delivery date and changing the opening period you want to cover. Okay, the higher this number, right, the more cases you will capture and you will be able to create an inspection lot for. Okay, I'm not going to run this transaction, otherwise I need to create again the POs and etc. Okay, that's a good thing about this. I can just check this, right? In another thing you can do, I forgot to mention, is that you can define the delivery date in a variant, as I said. And when you create a variant, okay, you can define a dynamic date. In this case, I will show you the same thing in the other, okay? Basically, we're using D for local dynamic date calculation in this case. Okay, and then here we have the following day plus 90 days. Okay, so you normally, when you want to create this, you pick up this. Okay, as you see, it's 40 work days, right? So you can double click here, you can do the change if you want, right? In this case, I'm not going to change. You can put the factory calendar and the working days here, for example. Okay, you can choose many things, many options, of course, but this is a typical date. Okay, it's just a day plus certain numbers of days. Okay, in this case 90 days, because you're just covering a range, a calendar range. You're not covering here working days necessarily. However, the working days are used, as I mentioned before, to calculate the opening, let's say, period for this, which is basically the delivery date minus the lead time, as I said. So that lead time of 5 days are working days. Okay, so the change will depend on I mean, the change, sorry, the date will depend on the numbers of working days. Okay, excellent. So I will just close this one and let's jump into the QA's 51. Okay, let's go to QA 51. There is some original, let's say, variant created. It's created by SAP. Okay. But we will just create a new one. So in order to show you some details, so you can create your own if you want, okay, instead of changing the original one. So let me create a variant from here. Okay, we can call this like for example job planning, sorry, job plan underscore D01, for example. Let's assume we will run this only for this plant, for example. Okay, if you create a specific by plant, you need to name the plant here so everyone will know what is this for, right? So let me create, and then as you can see, it's pretty much the same as we seen in the other transaction, the QI07. The only difference is that keep in mind that the behavior of this opening period would be different. Okay, okay, so we can put supplier, we can put materials if we want, or just leave this blank to cover everything. Keep in mind, if you set up a supplier or a material here at the variant, and then you have another case of a supplier being inspected, right? Source inspection for that supplier, then you need to add it here. Otherwise, you will lose that, okay? The automatic creation for that. So the it's advisable not to use specific suppliers in the list here in the variant, but the plant, of course, is specific, right? So you want to create only this for this plant, so that's fine, right? You can put the plant. Delivery date, again, in this case, it's picking up everything in the future, but it's up to you if you want to change this, right? No problem. And the opening period here is 30 because we want to cover everything in the past, right? We don't want to miss any case in the past that was due and it was not created for any other reasons, like I mentioned, something went down, server went down one day or whatever, right? So it's better to have to cover everything in the past and basically to cover to the future. But of course, this is not advisable because you might have, I don't know, delivery dates in the future. You ask for next 6 months. You purchase normally, for example, for the next following 6 months, and then you will be creating ahead of time a lot, right? So it's better to be more specific. Okay, how can you do this? Okay, okay, I will show you. We jump into the attributes, right? Of course, in this case, we need to put a description. let me put this, let's say, source inspection. Of course, we know that, right? Because this is specific for the source inspection. But anyway, just to put something here. As any other variant, okay, you can just flag it as only to be used for background processing, for example, okay, if you want. You can also protect the variant, and etc. So there are some parameters that you can use here. So we're not going to do any change here. We're not going to be protecting the fields, hiding the fields, nothing like that, okay? The only thing we can do here, or the only thing we might do, right, like I mentioned before, let me put a delivery date, right? Let me choose the D, and here we will choose numbers of days, as we said, current day plus certain numbers of days or certain working days. But anyway, these will work because basically the range is just calendar days, right? It's not working days for this case. So let me put uh, 90 days, okay? Couple of I'm sorry, almost 3 months, depending on the month, right? Of course, but it's a calendar day, 90 days, okay? This is what SAP was suggesting in the other one, by the way, okay? Okay, once you set up everything here, right? Oh, the plant as well, right? Yeah, I think the plant was there. Yeah, the plant was there anyway. Yeah, this is the one we need to do the setup inside these details, okay? Because it's in another column, as you see. It's not beside um, the date field, right? It's here. So since it's okay now, let me just save it. Here, this is what I'm talking about, right? The delivery date was determined automatically based on these 90 days, this formula we put there, right? And you don't have those options here. That's why you need to go to the details, okay, to the attribute here. However, the D01, right, or this 30 is already here, right? Or inspect without batches. Well, by the way, I will. Yeah, okay, that's one thing we can discuss. For example, in the case of QI07, since you are manually running that, you can take a look at the next, let's say, in the future inspection log you need to create, etc. You might want to create only with batches, right, or something like that. So if it's without the batch, you will see a red color, red traffic light, okay, because it cannot be converted because there is a missing batch. Of course, if you flag this, it will create it anyway, okay? Since this is the background job, right, I would advise you to put without batch, because if someone forgets to put the batch in the PO at the time of creation, you will be missing this, right? Because it will not be created unless you run the manual one, the QI07. Okay, so it's up to you what you want to achieve, right? But keep in mind that, okay, in this case, I would suggest to keep this inspect without batch so you cover everything, even though you will have more work at the time of a micro transaction because you will need the batch there as well. And as long as you have it in the sorry, since you don't have it in the PO, it will not be copied over when you run the migrant. However, you still need it in the inspection lot. Okay, so you will need to create the batch at inspection lot level that will be not copied over to the PO. Therefore, you still need to use that batch into the migrant transaction. Okay. I think in one of the videos I did, because I forgot to create it at the time of the PO, you can see what I have done. Okay. But if you have any doubt anyway, you can put in the comments and I can create a specific video if it's really needed. Okay, basically, we already have this, right? So we can, it's already saved. Okay, this is to schedule. Remember that this is the one we created, right? This is the SAP standard, let's say. So let's schedule now this job plan, okay? There are two ways you can execute this. One is to execute immediately, okay, which is basically will start right now, okay? Or you can schedule it. I will show you the schedule, okay? Let me just click on schedule. In the schedule, you still have the chance of uh, choose these two, right? You can just schedule one, and you put the date and time, and well, basically, it's just postponing the execution. Instead of saying immediately, you will do just once at a time you decide, right? So, for example, it's adjusting this date at this time, okay? I'm kind of confused with the time right now because it's system time, right? It's not my local time, and so I don't remember exactly why we have this different. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, the important thing here is that you can schedule this periodically. Let me click on this. Okay. So you can create this once a day, right? Or once a week, or once a month. I would suggest to use once a day. Of course, it will depend on the numbers of source inspection you need to do, right? If you just have occasional um, the source inspection, right? Maybe you can use just QI07 as a procedure in the laboratory, right? Once a week, they go ahead and create for everything for next week's, for example, right? Something like that. You can define a procedure. You don't, maybe you don't even need this QA01, right? 51, sorry. But I would assume that you will have with certain frequency, right? And you cannot expect, maybe you have many in 1 week, maybe less in the other. So that's fine. Then you need to cover daily, right? But it's up to you, of course, right? You can define. Never use, of course, hours and minutes. No, no need to do that unless you are doing kind of a, uh, I mean, multiple just in time or something, right? Because it's going to be too many inspection lot and work. Um, anyway, the typical per day is good enough, and sometimes you can use just weekly again. Okay, it's up to the business. So let me create by day or daily, I mean, and the request with the variant was scheduled. Okay, this is what basically was scheduled. Let me check. Just give me 1 second. I need to understand the time difference because I have in my time it's 8:14 p.m. and I have another time here. Okay, let me just check one thing. Okay, no, basically it gave me 1 hour more. Okay, to start. That was a suggestion at that time. So you can, of course, if you know exactly the time that your system is running, you can just change it, right? I couldn't change it because I didn't know what time it was, to be honest. Okay. But anyway, since this will start in 1 hour from now, I was just going to delete this. Okay. This was just for you to take a look at the way this work. And once this is executed, you will have another one for the next day and so on. So you have all the schedule and finished um, let's say executions, etc. Right, and the release means it will run. Okay, it's released and it's waiting the time to start executing. Okay, so you will see it sometimes running. Okay, and finished, and sometimes you have a failure as well. Sometimes, right? That's what I was saying that we need to cover also some days in the past. Okay. Okay, so let me with the update you can see if it changes. Okay, and of course we can delete this. Let me delete job. Yes. Let me go back. Let me go back. And now we're going to do the following. just for the sake of checking this, right? But we're not going to wait for the other one. Just delete it anyway. So it says this variant started, right? Okay, nothing else. Okay, we need to go to another code to check this, okay? Okay, it's finished because it was very short, right? We had only 4 lines. Let me see what the system has done. See? So we created, as I mentioned, it's the same PO with 4 lines, okay? So it has created 4 of them, the 4 of them, okay? All of them, I would say. So just to check that, and we can finish this video because it's taken longer than expected, I would say. Yeah, let me. These are other ones. These are the new ones. End date. Yeah. Okay. These are the, see, the different dates for the 4 of them. Okay. Let me just open one. Inspection lot. The batch I created, and this is the PO. Okay. This is the PO 588, which is basically what we have seen in the report, right? SM37, or maybe I close it. Oh no, I'm inside that, I think, right? Okay, let me do it. I don't want to leave the other one here. Okay, so when we check spool, see, this is the PO 588, and this is the one we just opened in this inspection log, which is this 31 here. Okay, so as usual, okay, specification. Of course, we can continue now with the regular process. We're not going to do it now. There are other videos for that, right? There is one video for the acceptance of the inspection lot and one for the rejection. So we saw that the system is preventing us to do the good receipt, right? It's not accepting the GR. Excellent. So we cover everything I wanted to share with you today. So thank you very much for watching. Please like it if you like it and share it with another colleagues if you want. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Okay, you will help the channel grow. Okay, thank you very much. See you in the next video.